Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode of Coaching Conversations. And I wanted to make you aware of something very cool that we're doing on a subscription basis, and we'll put a link in each one of our episodes. But every Wednesday, we're going to be doing what we call an audio podcast workshop. That workshop will be roughly about 14 to maybe 20 minutes per episode, with each month having a theme from a coaching model, using feedback strategically, to coaching self-awareness, and so on. So if you could look in the body or in the content description of each episode, and you will see a link where you can join this subscription. These are literally 4 workshops every month teaching specific strategies to address a particular area of workplace coaching as it relates, again, to things like awareness, motivation, teamwork, and what have you. Here's the cool thing. It's only $10 per month, and each month you will get a handout that we will follow along with. So we also give you a tool for you to take notes as we go through each episode. We hope you'll check it out.
Coaching, yeah, but Bob. You know, the person who says, yeah, but before you're done with your first sentence. You know, the person who knows you're already wrong before you're done with your sentence. These are people who typically have high resistant levels. They typically have low self-awareness. You know, the type of person who you just know deep down they don't think it's really ever their fault or their responsibility. So this podcast is going to teach a very specific lesson using something called reflective coaching and a rule of engagement. Here's how you start a conversation. Tom, now first of all, when you start this conversation, this should be not the first time you talk to this person. This strategy is really used as a last resort. You sit down with somebody and say, you know, Tom, I'm going to provide you some insight and opportunity. Notice the words insight and opportunity. Tom, as I do that, I'm going to provide you some observations and perspectives. My gut tells me you're going to have a knee-jerk interaction to interrupt me, whether you agree or disagree. So I'm going to ask you to do something very, very unique. I want you to just take a deep breath every single time you want to interject. And I want you to really take a deep breath and just absorb, not to agree or disagree, but just to absorb the perspective I'm going to share with you. Now at the end, I'm going to ask you to do something else that's a little bit unique. And we've never done this before, Tom. I want you to take a deep breath at the end and realize that we're going to pick up the conversation the next day or the day after. And here's why. I've given this conversation a lot of thought, and I want to give you the same time. Whether you need it or not, I'm going to ask you to do that. So the rule of engagement is you're going to eliminate their in-person response, that knee-jerk reaction, that triggered reaction. The second thing is you're going to ask them to think about it through reflection. Now, at the end of the conversation, let's say you mentioned to Tom, I think you have an opportunity to raise your performance level. I think you have an opportunity to go to the next level. And I would strongly suggest you have some internal conversation that is really, really predicated upon it's not all your fault or responsibility. And I want you to do something that is very unique. I want you to completely eliminate that from your vocabulary. And by the time you and I get back together, I want you to come in and tell me with 100% commitment and 100% responsibility what 2 to 3 actions you're specifically going to take to successfully turn things around. If you start to bring up conditions and certain elements that may inhibit you, I'm going to strongly suggest to you you're fractionally committed to your success. You are 100% in charge of your success and 100% responsible. There's always going to be mitigating factors with anything you do. So what I'd like to do is get back together in a couple days, and I want you to share with me what are 2 to 3 actions you're going to do to take to successfully raise your level of performance, and what are those specific actions? Now, let me narrate the strategy. By starting off the conversation, use words like perspective, opportunity. Use things like I'm going to share. Stay away from the word feedback or the word constructive. You want to keep them in the moment of the conversation as best you can. Now, somebody still might say, yeah, but. And that's when you have to be strong enough as a leader to say, look, Tom, you just epitomized why I started the conversation the way I did. I know right now you want to prove or you want to win or you want to give me a different perspective. I'm asking you to just absorb. I know that you want to have that conversation now. I'm asking you not to. And you want to be thoughtful and polite and you want to use a smile, and it'll be very tough on the person. Number 2, reflection. When somebody reflects, they're not talking to people. See, yeah, but Bobs of the world are triggered by other people. They're in the moment. And what you're doing is you're eradicating the moment. You're removing those innate internal triggers where people are going to defend their turf. It's not because they're bad people. It's a triggered impulse. It's a reaction. It's something that through practice they've built up over time. So often when we coach these people, guess what? They've been doing this to other people for years, and sometimes they have success or subtle success. So guess what they do? They continue to do it. So again, number 1, rule of engagement. I'm going to ask you not to interrupt. I'm going to ask you to not interject whether you agree or disagree. Remember that phrase, whether you agree or disagree. And then what I'd like to do is get back together in a couple days, and I want you to give some careful thought to what you've heard and what you're specifically going to do to own 100% of the responsibility of turning things around successfully, and what are the 2 to 3 actions you and or I need to take with you to move in that direction. Once you get past the first step and you truly part ways, time will start to do its work. It will not solve everything, yet time is a wonderful companion to coaching. It is a wonderful partner to coaching. Very few people truly reflect and look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm the problem. It's a triggered reaction. It's a defense mechanism. Time will help you. Now, the minute they start to share those actions, they still may want to go to the yeah, but world. Don't let them. Stop them and say, Tom, I got to tell you something. If I hear your 3 actions out loud, I think it's awesome. We're moving in the right direction. Try as best you can to eliminate the wiggle room. That wiggle room will become their safe haven. What you're trying to do is create a safe haven of self-awareness. Good luck. Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagen and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21 day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.